Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
This is the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. You know who it is. I am your host, Kayvon, coming at you live from the bedroom of my house. Got my microphone, got my computer, got my iPad, got my TV on in front of me. Game 7, Nuggets, Clippers about to come on. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a doozy, but guess what? Week 1 is in the books. Football is back, and we made it through 1 week, and boy, was it a good one. It was a good one. Eagles fans are worried. Jets fans are livid. Browns fans feel hopeless. Brady critics have the pitchforks out already. Cardinals fans are ecstatic. Cowboys fans are delusional. Falcons fans are discouraged. Seahawks fans are saying, "Cook, Russell, cook." And Ravens fans are saying, "We're right back where we were last year." Lions fans are saying, "Are you kidding me this again?" Packers fans are saying, "Yes, Aaron Rodgers, yes." 32 teams have played. The emotions are high. The overreaction box is in front of me. Right here, ready to pull out overreaction by overreaction. Half the teams are 1-0, while the other 16 are heading to the drawing board to find out what went wrong and to try and avoid the dreaded 0-2 start. You know, it's so funny. It's like when you lose game 1, first of all, week 1 is it's funny in so many ways, right? I fall victim of this all the time. You play one game. There's 15 more weeks to go. But for some reason, we lose week 1 and we feel like the world is falling apart. We feel like the house is collapsing, right? It always happens. Trust me, I get it. Been there, done that. Happened to me again this week. It's how we always feel. It's like, that's why I said I got the overreaction box in front of me. I see everyone overreacting on Twitter. I see everyone overreacting all over the place here. Are you kidding me? DeAndre Swift couldn't catch the ball. The Lions lose to Trubisky and the Bears in a terrible, terrible fourth quarter comeback that the Lions allowed. I get it. Now Lions fans feels like their season's over. Trust me, I've been there, done that in that boat. It's why I say the overreaction box is here. And this is the fun thing, though, because this is what you have to do. Because week 1 is such a huge overreaction, you have to take a deep breath, take a step back, and this is where my job comes in. You have to navigate what's real and what's not. That's what I'm here to do for you, huh? And that's what we're going to do after a beautiful week of football. You have to look at it and say, hey, this happened. Is this what we're about to see all season? Or is this week 1 in a season where we haven't had a preseason, where we haven't been game ready? This is the first game that all these players got to play. Coaches got to coach. All the new coaches lost. Every single one with the new coach besides Ron Rivera lost. Like every single team that had a new coach this season. And I told you guys, it's going to be rough out of the gate. It's going to be rough out of the gate, especially for those teams that have new coaches. But Ron Rivera pulled through. So, it's a different season. And what did you guys think about the crowd noise, by the way? The fake crowd noise coming in from Fox and from and CBS. I wasn't a fan of it. I'm not going to lie. I would have just rather heard the broadcasters talk. I thought that, and I think a lot of it had to do with me thinking, like I knew that the crowd noise was there, so that was a big part of it because every time it happened, I knew that, oh, this is fake, and it just sounds so fake. So I think my brain kept telling me that, but I was not a fan of the fake crowd noise. I wasn't. And, it is what it is, and look, I'm going to take football over no football, or football with no crowd over no football at all. Like, I'm not complaining. But wouldn't it have been awesome to see that Sunday night game, Cowboys opening up, come to SoFi Stadium where the Rams are opening it up for the first time, like with it sold out. Next Monday night, the Saints are going down to Las Vegas Raiders in that beautiful dome on the Strip. Like, it would have been awesome to see fans in that. But hey, it is what it is, and we're gonna truck through this. The best thing is we had no COVID positive tests going into the weekend. Now, this is when things get interesting with COVID. After teams are flying back from, Seattle came from Seattle all the way to Atlanta. Now they got to go back to Seattle. These teams played each other. They hit each other. Coaches were on the sidelines. What's going to happen now? Now, the NFL said they're going to do testing every day. So we're going to see how many positives came from this. Do we get an outbreak? Is there an outbreak? That's what we're going to find out. But what we're going to do for our show today, and I want you guys to get used to this because our Tuesday show is going to be very similar, always. This week it will be different because week one, it's a lot of different things, like I said, overreaction and stuff like that. But for the most part, we're going to do a bunch of different segments all throughout week one. And all throughout Tuesday's podcast is what I mean. And what we'll do is we're going to dive into the biggest storylines that came out of the games, obviously, right? The biggest ones. We're not going to have time to break down every game, but the big games, the big storylines that happen within the games, or even not even a big game, but something that happened in that game. That's how we're going to break this down. Every Tuesday show, we're going to give out game balls. So what that is these game balls can go to an individual player. They can go to an entire team. They can go to a coach. It's going to be someone that won the weekend, pretty much, in my opinion. How did they win the weekend? Why did they win the weekend? Well, we'll explain it and we'll give them the game ball for it. Does that make sense? And then after that, we're going to do that segment actually will pretty much be the same within the Waterboy segment and what the Waterboy segment is. And shout out to my boy Will Bowers for helping me come up with this. And he had the idea. The Waterboy Award is the opposite of the Game Boy Award, the Game Ball Award. So it goes to the player or team or coach that really just stunk it up. I mean bad. It could be an entire team. It could be a player. It could be a coach for making bad calls or a player for doing something that cost the team a game or a bonehead move, something like that. And it's the Waterboy Award because you should have just been giving out the water. You screwed up, It's fun. We're not trying to be harsh. It's just fun. It's fun. So we'll do game balls. We'll do Waterboy Award. And that's something we're going to do every single Tuesday after a great weekend of football, right? After that, we'll dive into the Monday night games. We got lucky. We had 2 Monday night games. How many of you guys stayed up for that second Monday night game? Woohoo, Steven Gostkowski. What in the world happened to him? And I was mad because he cost me some money. I had the Titans -3, and he goes over here and botches like 3 field goals and an extra point. And the Titans should have ran away with that game. But that's a whole different ballgame. But wasn't that awesome? I mean, that was awesome being able to see a 7 o'clock Monday night game and then just flipping it right to that 10 o'clock Monday night game. Wish we could get that every single week. So we'll break down to the Monday night game, look into all 4 teams that played, give you guys a good breakdown of that, what happened. Then what we're going to do is we're going to look at the Thursday game coming up. Okay, got a big game this Thursday, Cincinnati Bengals. It's the Battle of Ohio, Cincinnati Bengals against Cleveland Browns. We'll dive into that game since the next show comes out on Saturday, so we won't have time to dive into it then. What we'll do is we'll recap it on Saturday before we break down all the Sunday games. We're gonna talk about one team that, speaking of an overreaction, you guys might think this is an overreaction, but it's not. That is in a must-win situation already after week 1. Now listen, that sounds crazy usually, okay? Usually week 1, even if you get blown out the doors, it's week 1. Now we can see trends of, okay, this might be a tough season for this team, or this team just had a fluke game. You know, we can see stuff like that, but and things can turn around, but we never want to say, hey, like, clearly this is an overreaction. But this, I do not believe is. And I'm going to give you guys why and who that one team is, and why if they don't win their week 2 game, they are in for a long, long season. So I will give you that in just a minute. Oh, wow. Jason Tatum tried to hit a 3, 106 going into overtime. He missed the 3. Game 1 of the East Finals is living up to the hype right now. This is a good one. So after that, after we break down the Thursday night game, I'll give you guys the team that is in a must-win position already for week 1. That will probably take us, we're going to go to Tom Brady. Tom Brady. Now listen, I get it. One bad game and the pitchforks already want to come out, right? That's how it is. I see it. I can't believe some of you Boston fans are sitting up there happy, which is ridiculous. That guy's giving everything to your franchise. But we're going to break into it. Look, he had a bad game. Is this a signs for more to come? We'll talk more about that. And then we're going to play a game to end the show called Panic or Patience. All right? Panic or Patience. So what that is after week 1, as I said, it's a huge overreaction, right? If your team played bad, you feel like all hope is lost. If your team played good, you feel like you have a chance to win the Super Bowl. I get it. I've been on both sides of the ball as a fan, right? So now, what we will do is we're going to play a game of Panic or Patience where I'm going to name out some teams that had a rough week 1 or just lost week 1. And I'm going to let you know if it's time to panic or if it's okay to have some patience. It's week 1, it's a fluke, or oh my, this might come panic time. Panic Town might be coming already. So we'll dive into that for quarter number 4 to wrap it up. That should be a real fun game that we'll do, so stick with us there. But every single Tuesday, we are going to start the show this way. Always. We're always going to start the show, the Tuesday episode, by handing out what I like to call the win of the week. The win of the week is the best win of the week in my eyes, obviously. And I can get y'all's reactions always. Please hit me up on Twitter at Kayvon_sports. Let me know your wins of the week every Sunday night, every Monday night. Give me your wins of the week. Who do you think deserved the win of the week? And I might just pick your team if I like what you're talking about. And you already know I'll shout you out for sure. So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to pick the win of the week. And why? It's got to be a big deal. It can't just be, this team won. Okay? It's got to be a big, big deal. So this week, for the win of the week, it came down between 2 teams. The Arizona Cardinals and the Washington football team. And while the Cardinals had a huge win, I mean, I don't know if you guys were watching that game. It was the 4 o'clock game. But they went into San Francisco, and I know it's different. There weren't any fans there, but still, it's a division game. It's week 1. It's against the reigning NFC champions. And the Cardinals gave it to them. Kyler Murray put on a show. DeAndre Hopkins showed that he can ball, and he clearly hasn't lost a step, and he's clearly excited to be in a new location. Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray are just on the same page. That defense looked much better than last year. Look, the Cardinals, they deserve some praise. But they're not going to get the win of this week because nobody deserves the win of the week more than the Washington football team. Washington football team, you get the win of the week. And the reason why they get the win of the week is after the insane, the tumultuous offseason that they've had. You know, everything that's going on with the owner. And then they get a new head coach in Ron Rivera, who everyone loves, and everyone looks like, you know, this is going to be the guy. Then next thing they know, they find out that he has cancer and he has to go through chemotherapy. The guy is on the sidelines coaching to the point where he has to get IV shots at halftime just to be able to finish the game. They're down 17-0 at halftime, and he toughs it out. I mean, it's remarkable. He takes the IV shot. They're down 17-0, and they come back, and that team wins the game for their coach. That's a movie right there. You can't write something like that up. For Washington, and Washington played good. That defensive line might be the best in the league. I mean, it really might have taken over San Francisco as the best defensive line in the league. And I know Pittsburgh looked really good on Monday night too, and we'll get into that. But that defensive line, and that looked good. They looked really good. Dwayne Haskins, you know, he was a bit shaky, but he did enough for them to win. The run game was all right. It wasn't great. A lot of people were high on Antonio Gibson, but none of that matters. What matters is they were down 17, it was 17-7, not 17-0. They're down 17-7, and they came out in the second half, and they didn't allow Eagles offense that is pretty good to score 1 point the entire second half. And they go on to win 27-17 in the first ever game as the Washington football team, in the first ever game as Ron Rivera as the head coach. And what that man's been through, what this team has gone through, they deserve the first ever Win of the Week award on the GSMC football podcast. Great stuff. Really, really great win for the Washington football team. Now, let's give out some game balls, all right? I've got 2 game balls to give out this week. Now, again, every week it could be different. There could be 1, there could be 2, there could be 3, there could be 5 if it's that good of a week. I got 2 game balls to give out this week. First, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers. He played so good that he was already making me doubt my pick of the Vikings to win the NFC North. Now, I'm not going to walk that back. I'm going to hold it to it. But he played so good in Minnesota. And again, I know there's no fans, so it's a little bit different. But still, in Minnesota, a team that has never, in the Vikings, in their entire history, has never given up 43 points in a season opener. A team that prides themselves on defense. They gave up 43 points. Aaron Rodgers went 32 of 44, 364 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He was on a mission. He clearly showed to everyone that Jordan Love pick was stupid, and this is what I'm going to do every single game of the season to prove how dumb it was. And I truly feel that's what he went out to prove. Devontae Adams, 14 catches for 156 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, it was incredible. It was incredible what Aaron Rodgers did, and Aaron Rodgers easily earns the game ball of the week for that. The second game ball goes to Mitchell Trubisky. Now, a lot of you guys might say, why? Why in the heck should Trubisky earn a game ball like this? And let me tell you something. All offseason, that kid has had to hear crap about how bad of a pick it was, including from me, but especially in that Chicago media. He's had to hear over and over how bad of a pick that was, how they screwed that pick up like crazy, how that pick should have never happened, all this stuff, how he's a bust of a pick, and you know what he did? They're going into the fourth quarter. They're going into the fourth quarter, and they're down 23-6. 6 points through 3 quarters. Everyone, it's already coming out. Trubisky can't do anything on offense. All they've done is score 6 points against a average Lions defense at best, and he pops off in the fourth quarter for 21 points and leads his team to a miraculous 27-23 comeback in week 1. That shows guts. I mean, what he was able to do, so much pressure on him. All three of those 3 quarters, he had to just keep thinking how bad this has to be, how much everyone's going to be ripping our heads off, my head off, all that stuff. And he put it behind him, and he came out and scored 3 touchdowns to will his team to a victory. You can't get much better than that. Game ball of the week goes to Mitchell Trubisky. No doubt about it. Now, before I give out the Waterboy Award of the week, I do want to give you guys a couple runners-up for the Waterboy of the week, because we're just going to give out one Waterboy of the week each week. That is, if we give one out, some weeks no one might do anything bad. Carson Wentz, who is my guy. I talk very highly about Wentz. You guys know that. You guys know that a lot. He disappointed me. He really disappointed me on Sunday. And, I'm happy that Ron Rivera got that win. I'm happy that Washington got that win. They deserve that win. They played hard for that win. They earned that win. And I get it. The Eagles are in a tough situation already after week 1. They have more injuries than probably every other team combined. I mean, they have so many injuries. I've never seen a team this injured heading into week 2 of the football season. I've never seen it. It's crazy. It's crazy. So they're going into week 2. Their entire offensive line is pretty much banged up. Their receivers are banged up. Their defensive line is banged up. They're banged up all over the place. And he came out of the gates slugging it still, going up 17-0. And then things just fell apart after that. And it was a disappointment. He played bad against the terrible Washington secondary. And he was close to getting this Waterboy of the Week award, but I had to give it to the entire Indianapolis Colts team. The Indianapolis Colts were favored by 8 points against the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that is supposed to be tanking, a team that has traded away every good player they have, and they went down to Jacksonville and they stunk it up to the point where they lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Phillip Rivers looked awful. He looked uncomfortable. Marlon Mack got hurt. All of our prayers out to him because he had an Achilles injury, and that's the worst. But the Colts, there's no excuse. No excuse at all. They couldn't score more than 3 points in the second half. That's all they scored, 3 points in the entire second half. A team that has traded away every single good defensive player they have. The whole entire Indianapolis Colts deserve the Waterboy of the Week award. I mean, come on. Terrible, 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 terrible. Props to Jacksonville, though. Props to those players. Props to Gardner Minshew. The front office, the owner has done everything they can to trade away everyone, to tank. And the players came. And this is why I said it's so hard to tank in the NFL. You see that? The players came out and said, hey, do what you want. We're going to ball, though. And they balled to the point where they willed themselves to a victory. And I'll tell you what, Gardner Minshew looks good. He can sling that ball. So props to them. But the Indianapolis Colts Waterboy of the Week award, no doubt about it. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your boy, Kayvon Izami. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will do the Monday Night Football reactions. Giants fans are hurting. Steelers fans are happy. Broncos fans, what in the world is going on with your coach? And Titans fans, boy, did you get lucky after what your kicker did that night. We'll be right back to debate it all.
Listen up, sports bettors. This is Bryson Ethan here to tell you about our favorite sports book, and that's BetUS. Football, basketball, and baseball are all back, and that means it's time to get down your bets. We only endorse one sports book, and that is BetUS.com. Why, you ask? BetUS is the pioneer in online betting with more than 25 years in the biz. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity, and you need to know that you're going to get paid.
That's right, Bryce. You need a sports book that offers everything, including live betting, MMA, golf, horses, esports, entertainment, and all kinds of crazy prop bets and futures. So call today at 1-800-MyBetUS. That's 1-800-MyBetUS, and they will walk you through getting started. Nobody in the industry gives better bonuses or bigger bonuses than BetUS. Join now, mention GSMC, and you get up to 150% in bonuses on your first deposit. Nobody beats that. We bet at BetUS, and so should you. So join BetUS today. That's BetUS.com, or call 1-800-MyBetUS, mention GSMC, and get 150% in bonuses on your first deposit.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon. Welcome after week 1 of the NFL regular season. And boy, was it a doozy. I loved it. I loved every single bit of it. We had 0 positive COVID tests. It was great. I mean, like I said, I'm not all for the whole crowd noise thing, but you got to take it how it is. Right? And, we just did this segment to end segment 1. As I told you, we're going to do game balls of the week after every Tuesday, and then Waterboy Award of the week. And it's all fun and games. We're not really all these players, they're good enough to make the NFL. They're not water boys. It's just a fun way to just say, hey, who didn't show up? And look, that's my job. I praise you when you do good, and I criticize you when you do bad, right? Look, it's overreaction. It's Overreaction Tuesday. It's week 1. We're all going through it. If your team won, you think you're going to win the Super Bowl. If your team lost, you just want to bury your head in the pillow and scream and not wake back up until next Sunday, right? And then if you go 0-2, then you got a real problem. Then you got a real problem, but let's not worry about that. Let's think about that as we go. We'll dive into that on Saturday, huh? We gave the entire Indianapolis Colts team the Water Boy of the Week award. And look, it's just, Frank Wright, you got to be better. You got to be better. You lose 27-20. It's not like you were down like the Falcons were, where they had to throw the ball over and over to try and get back in it. Matt Ryan had to throw the ball 54 times, and he did well, 450 yards, 2 touchdowns, but they had to do that to get back in it. The Colts were leading for the majority of this game. There's no reason why Phillip Rivers should be throwing the ball 46 times at his age. He shouldn't be doing it. This is a run-first offense. You have the biggest hog mollies of people in front of you in that offensive line. It's the best offensive line in the entire NFL. You need to run that ball, and I get it. Marlon Mack went down. You drafted Jonathan Taylor in the 2nd round. What, you don't think he's ready? You drafted him in the 2nd round. I don't care if he's not ready. Put him in the game. Give Nyheim Hines the ball. Phillip Rivers does not need to be throwing the ball 46 times against the Jaguars team. If you're down by 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 like the Falcons were, then you have to ditch the run game. There's no reason why the Colts needed to ditch the run game. It was poor on everyone. The defense was bad. The offense was bad. The play calling was bad. Shouldn't have allowed it. Shouldn't have allowed it to happen. Now, Jacksonville was the only team that allowed fans in their stadium on Sunday. They're the only team that did it. The Broncos, on their Monday night, they ended up allowing 500 fans. So they did allow a couple too. But the Jacksonville, they were, I want to say they had 20% fans. And we'll see what happens from that. We'll see if an outbreak happens or anything. And we'll see what happens week 2 as this changes. Because you remember, a lot of teams, they were going to see how things go week 1. Majority of the teams were going to see how things go the first 2 weeks and then revisit the whole fans in the stands. And we'll see what happens from there. But my game balls, Aaron Rodgers just lit up the show. He just lit up the show. Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson are easily right there for MVP after 1 week. And it's 1 week, but boy, did Russell Wilson put on a show like he wanted to win MVP this year. I mean, guys, look, the Falcons, my Falcons, we were unfortunate. We don't have a very good defense, but this is that's probably the best football game I've ever seen Russell Wilson play. You know why? Because Pete Carroll took the handcuffs off. Pete Carroll said from the start, go, take off, do your thing, cook, Russell Wilson, cook. We don't ever see Pete Carroll allow Russell Wilson to do that until the fourth quarter when it's time to ice the game. Right? We don't ever see that happen. I mean, think about this. Seattle only ran the ball 20 times. Seattle Seahawks. They usually run the ball 30, 40 times a game. They ran it 20 times. That's not Seattle football. But what they did on Sunday, that should be Seattle football because Wilson wants that. He wants the onus on him. He wants to throw the ball 35 times a game because he can. And when they unleashed him on Sunday, and I saw it right from the get-go, when they came out in that first quarter and went up 14-3 on us, I said, oh no, oh no. Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll was allowing Russell Wilson to do the one thing that we were not ready for. And Matt Ryan said it after the game. And you know who else did something big for that Seattle team? Jamal Adams. And let me tell you guys remember, and I always say it, look, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, I'm right. And I'm going to tell it both ways. This offseason, when the Seahawks gave up 2 first-round picks, I said that it's not worth that. I said that you should never give up 2 first-round picks for a safety because a safety doesn't impact the game enough. Week 1, I was completely wrong. Jamal Adams was all over the field. There wasn't one time when one of our players got tackled on offense and Jamal Adams wasn't there. He led the team with 12 tackles. He had a sack. He had 2.5 tackles for a loss, 8 solo tackles, 2 QB hits. I mean, the man was all over the field. And I promise you, if he wasn't there, this game, the Seahawks still probably win, but this game would have been much closer. Much closer. But he was we couldn't do anything until the end when we had to play catch up because of how good Jamal Adams was. And that was special. That was really, really special. And you know, I still am sticking by. I don't know if I would give up 2 first-round picks, but I'll tell you what, the way he played on Sunday night, Seattle understood what they're doing, and I get why they did it. If they're going to use him that way, I get why he did it. So, let's get into the Monday night reactions now. We had 2 really good games. You know, I don't know about you guys, but I loved seeing Big Ben back on the field. I loved it. The first couple drives, he looked shaky, but then he started to play really good. I mean, the Steelers are a really good team, just like I predicted. Look, if Big Ben can stay healthy, this is a team that will be in the playoffs, and this is a team that will compete to win the AFC. There's no doubt about that. Did you see what that defense did to Saquon Barkley last night? Saquon Barkley is by far one of the best running backs in the league. By far, top 3, you know, not even a debate. They allowed that man to have 6 rushing yards. 6 rushing yards. How is that possible? For Saquon Barkley, we're talking here. 6 yards. That defense is going to end up one of the best in the leagues. I actually think it's going to end up the best defense in the entire NFL. Big Ben had that offense rolling. He was picking all over that field. Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster looked back. I mean, James Conner, you got to feel bad for him. He just can't stay healthy. James Conner cannot stay healthy. Benny Snell came in, though, and stepped up. You know, the Steelers are one of those teams that usually play down to their competition. I don't know why, but they always do. Last night, they came out ready to roll, and it was great to see what Big Ben did, and they played exactly how I pictured. Look, if Big Ben stays healthy, just like I predicted, this team is going to be a force in the AFC. So, really, really like the way the Steelers came out week 1 after a whole year of no football for Big Ben. It was great to see him out there playing well, and that defense is special. Now let's go to the Vikings. Look, I know many Vikings fans are down today, but I took way more positives away from last night than negatives. Look, I have a brother-in-law. His name's Matt. I've talked about him a couple times on this show. I was talking to him last night, and he was so down because he was just shocked how bad Saquon Barkley was. And I was telling him, and he knows football really well. We talk football all the time, but I was telling him because sometimes, like when it's my team, when it's your team playing, you don't really look at it how others look at it because you're just pissed off why this didn't happen. And I was like, look, the Steelers clearly created a game plan from the get-go to stop Saquon Barkley. They came out from the start and said, we are not going to let Saquon Barkley beat us. If Daniel Jones beats us, then so be it, but we're not going to allow Saquon Barkley to do it. That was their plan. And when you have those type of players up front, when you have those type of linebackers like Devin Bush, that plan works. That plan really, really works. And that's what happened. And that's why he had 15 carries for 6 yards. But that's why Daniel Jones was able to have 4 carries for 22 yards because they weren't spying on Daniel Jones. They were spying on Saquon Barkley. They weren't letting him touch that ball without getting hit right away. 0.4 yards a carry is what he averaged. 0.4. Saquon will bounce back. Saquon will be one of the best running backs in the entire league like he is. He will bounce back, I promise. You're not going to be playing against this type of defense every single week. If you were, you'd go 0-16 because this defense is special. And he still averaged 10 yards a catch. I mean, Saquon had 6 catches, 60 yards. And this is the thing. This is the main positive. Daniel Jones looked good. Now, that offensive line is a problem. Dave Gettleman has screwed up with not protecting Daniel Jones. He has. That offensive line is a problem. But when Daniel Jones had time, when he had time to step up in the pocket, you can see the progress there. You can see that he clearly has ability to be a good quarterback in this league. Now, is Dave Gettleman going to get him to that point where he can have time? My bet is no, because we've seen what Dave Gettleman has done. But if there is a way to get an offensive line around Daniel Jones, this team is a good team. I mean, Darius Slayton, he was looking like A.J. Green in his prime out there. And again, Saquon Barkley will not have a game like that again. That was the Steelers' game plan from the get-go. They said if we lose, we're going down with Daniel Jones beating us. But we're not going to let that Saquon Barkley guy beat us. And that's why Giants fans, you can't overreact to how Saquon played. He's going to come out next week against the Bears, and he's going to have a 100-yard game. I can guarantee it. Because that's what Saquon does. So I take more positives away in that loss. I mean, Daniel Jones had one awful turnover in the red zone. But that drive to get down to that red zone, that was beautiful. That was veteran quarterback type stuff. 19 plays, driving it down the whole field, taking time off the clock. That's what you want to see in your quarterback. Then he made a rookie mistake. And those are the things that he's going to have to clean up. But from what we saw week 1 to what we saw towards the end of the Giants games last year, Daniel Jones has improved. And he's a quarterback that can step back and he can throw the ball 30-plus times a game if he has to. He needs protection. He needs protection just like every other quarterback in the league, young or old. If you don't have protection in the NFL, you're not doing anything. Because there's too many athletes, there's too many good guys on the other side of that line. So, the Steelers, they're who I thought they were. They're a really, really good football team that if the stars bounce their way, they can be a real threat to come out of the AFC. Of course, that means Big Ben staying healthy. And the Giants, the Giants look better than I thought. And that's a positive. Now, when we go to that night game, the Tennessee Titans going to Denver, I was disappointed in the Broncos. Look, I wasn't high on the Broncos anyways. I said I want to see more from Drew Lock. But he has a lot of weapons. Courtland Sutton wasn't out there, so that's a problem for sure. And losing Von Miller, I said that was going to hurt. And that's why I picked the Titans to win this game, because I knew they would win, because it was just there was too much going on that Broncos side. The Titans were going to come in prepared. They were going to come in ready, and they were. And they were ready. Their kicker was not. Their kicker was a problem. And if it wasn't for him making that final kick, he would have had to find his own way home, because I guarantee you Mike Vrabel would not have allowed him to get on the bus or on the plane. But lucky for him, he made that kick to win the game. But you know what really impressed me with the Titans last night? Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill looked good. Threw for 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, 80 QBR. Derrick Henry, 31 carries, 116 yards. Corey Davis had a big, big game. Can he keep that going all season? That would be something special. We'd love to see that. Number 5 pick overall, who's just kind of looked like a bust up until then. But that's a great way for him to start it. So, like I said, I don't have high hopes in the Broncos. I think they can be around a 7-9, maybe 8-8 team. But the Titans were impressive. The Titans were very impressive. Their defense looked good. They caused a lot of turnovers. I think they caused 2 fumbles. That's what you want to see out of a Mike Vrabel defense and that old school offense. And Tannehill looked good, and that was the big question mark coming in for the Titans, and I think that Tannehill looked good, which is good. Now, for the Broncos side of things, what in the heck is Vic Fangio doing? That's the problem here. You can't go home with 3 timeouts in your pocket still. You got to call a timeout. And his thinking was that the kicker's been so bad, Gostowski, that he'll end up just missing another kick and maybe they'll win. You cannot think like this. Yeah, the kicker was terrible, but this is an NFL kicker we're talking about. He bounced back. We're talking about a Super Bowl winning kicker, actually, who's hit a bunch of clutch kicks for the Patriots. Like, you have to call those timeouts. If you use those timeouts, there's a good chance that you give your quarterback a minute time left with the ball. And anything can happen then. So Vic Fangio's got to be better. A lot of coaches this weekend have to be better. And it's week 1. That's why you don't overreact in week 1. It's week 1. There's time, and you work through those things. Now, a positive that I do really like from the Broncos is Noah Fant. I think that a lot of people thought Noah Fant would have a big rookie year, and he did decent, but his game 1 of his sophomore year looked really good. 5 catches on 6 targets, 81 yards and a touchdown, 16.2 yards a catch. Like, that's what you want to see, especially fantasy players, but Broncos fans, you want to see that. That's good. And Jerry Jeudy, I know he had a couple drops. He had 4 drops last night, I think, or 3 drops last night, which is tough. But he's a rookie. He's a rookie. That's going to happen. You have to take those as you go. But did he show his route running ability? Whew! Did he show what he can do as a route runner? That was something. that was impressive. I really love to watch Jerry Jeudy. I loved watching him in college, and I think he put on a bit of a show last night when he got the ball and was able to do something with it. I mean, he averaged 14 yards a catch, which is great. That's big time. They have Hamiltons. Now, I know they have weapons. Now, I know that Philip Lindsay got hurt, and that's definitely one thing, but it's not, we don't want anyone hurt, and we hope he can get back soon, but Melvin Gordon is a baller. He's a baller. He showed that he can, 15 carries, 78 yards, 5.2 yards a rush, a touchdown, 25 yards was his longest run. That's good work right there. You give Melvin Gordon 20 touches a game, he's running 100-plus yards for you in a touchdown or so. Like, Melvin Gordon looked good. He looked the part. Drew Lock was all right. He had some fumbling issues. He fumbled it twice. Luckily, he didn't lose any of those fumbles. He got to recover them, but he went 22 for 33, 216 yards and a touchdown. So last night, it was really all about a couple things. The defense for all four of these teams and then their quarterbacks, right? Their quarterbacks all had a question mark. Daniel Jones and Drew Lock both going into their second year. Everyone wants to know how they're going to look. How are they going to do? For the most part, I thought that Daniel Jones looked very good. He had 2 interceptions that he has to clear up, of course, but he showed that he can strike the ball when he has time. He showed he can strike the ball. Drew Lock, he showed glimpses as well. Now, I think that Drew Lock didn't, he overthrew a lot of receivers and he didn't show as much, but Drew Lock can be a good quarterback in this league. It's just going to take time. And then with Ryan Tannehill, he had that really good season last year towards the end of it, but the question was, then he got paid, was he going to be able to keep that up? And he started off this by showing he can, all right? He threw the ball 43 times. When do we expect Ryan Tannehill to throw the ball 43 times? If anything, we expect Derrick Henry to run the ball 43 times and Tannehill to throw it 10 or 15, right? But he threw it 43 times, two touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 80.1 quarterback rating, 97.9, 80.1 QBR, 97.9 rating. Like he showed that he can take the load. Now, is it going to be something that he's going to be able to do throughout the season? That's the question mark. And then Big Ben. We all know Big Ben has the talent. The question was, he hasn't played in a year. He's older. Can he come back and stay healthy? And he did. He looked great. Again, it's week 1. No overreactions, even on the positive side. But he looked good. Can that elbow stay good? That's what we'll have to see. I know he was icing it, and that's normal. You ice your elbow when you go through surgery like that. You ice your elbow when you don't go through surgery like that. You're an older quarterback. I liked what I saw, definitely out of the Steelers the most. Then I would say the Titans, then I would say the Giants, and then I would say the Broncos out of most impressive from 1 to 4, all right? All 4 of these teams can end up having good years. It's just based on how you have your expectation as fan base. Cowboys fans, they're delusional. They set their expectations too high. And I get it as fans, and we'll get into that actually in a bit, but as fans, it's hard not to. You got to set your expectations right. Steelers fans, they should have high expectations. Because if everything clicks and Big Ben stays healthy, they can go far. They can go real far. And we'll see what happens from here. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon Izami. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it is time to talk about that team that needs to start worrying. Because if they lose game 2, things are going to go downhill real quick. And also, Brady didn't have a good game. The pitchforks are already out. Is this a sign for things to come? We'll dive into it right after this.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
This is the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, the great GSMC Podcast Network. If you have not listened to it, take a listen. We've got all types of stuff, great content all over, from finances and the best products out there to buy to, of course, the great GSMC Football Podcast with your boy, your host, Kayvon. I hope you're all enjoying the show. Hope you're all having a great week so far after a great week one of Sunday football and then two really good Monday night games. I really thought that the play would be down. No preseason. I thought it was going to be rough. I thought that look, football is such a hard sport to play. And to be able to not have any serious contact and then go straight into week one of a real full contact, full force game, it's hard. And I thought the play was going to be bad, but the play was awesome. The play was really, really good for the majority of the time. Like I said, my only complaint was the crowd noise. And that's, that's so minuscule when you think about it, because it's football. Football's great. I'll take football all day. So, but the play was great. Very impressed with the play. I loved a lot of the play. A lot of really good games overall. A couple blowouts here and there, but most of the games were pretty good and came down to the fourth quarter for a lot of them. So that was awesome. Remember, coming up next segment, we are going to do a little bit of patience or panic for all the teams, not all the teams, but the teams that lost big, lost in the final seconds. Is it panic time? Is it patience time? Stay tuned, because I am going to go through that, and your team just might be on there. So if you've been having some down couple of days, maybe I can give you some good advice, tell you to have some patience, or maybe I'm going to give you some bad advice, but you can come back at me on Twitter and tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me why your team should have patience, or tell me why you think that your team needs to panic. Because I'll tell you what, I've got a lot of Falcons fans reaching out to me that are panicking because they didn't like what they saw, and they think that a lot of Falcons fans don't think that Dan Quinn should have came back in the first place. I disagree. I think that he has earned another year this year. But I do think that if things go bad, he'll be gone this year. And I hope not, because I like him, the players like him, and we'll see what happens. We definitely will. I'll tell you one team that you need to keep your eyes on, and that's the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are good. Kyler Murray is special. Kyler Murray is, he is someone that I cannot take my eyes off the TV when he is playing. So really watch that team and see how they progress, because that was a huge week one upset against the 49ers. And I told you guys, we did our best bets. What did I tell you? I said the Cardinals. And I came on here and I said the Cardinals +7. Now, I didn't have the moxie to say, hey, let's bet the Cardinals outright. I didn't have that. But if you did, props to you. But hopefully you went and got that +7 and cashed in on that, which is nice. We should have got we got the Raiders right. I told you that. I was really wrong on my Falcons. That's the last time I'll bet on my Falcons. I jinxed us. I got the the Cardinals right, I got the Raiders right, and I should have got the Titans right, but Gostowski really just let me down on that. If you got the Titans at +1 or +1.5 or a pick 'em earlier in the week, then you cashed in. But if you got them at +3 or -3 like me, then you ended up losing that bet. So I want to dive into something here though, and it's time to talk about the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns lost to Baltimore 38-6. 38-6 in week 1 against a divisional opponent. That's pitiful. That is absolutely pitiful. And it's time to really start to panic. I know, look, I might sound crazy. It's week 1. And maybe I am crazy. Maybe they turn around and they go on a 5-game win streak here, but this team has too much talent to put up 6 points. So listen, let me just start here, okay? I have Sunday Ticket, right? I have NFL Sunday Ticket. For all of you guys that don't know, NFL Sunday Ticket is something you can get through DirecTV. You can actually stream it as well, I'm pretty sure. That's much cheaper, but I get it through DirecTV, and what that is you can watch every single game. Every single game out there. You can get the Red Zone channel, the Fantasy channel, and then you can watch every single game out there. So what I do is I always have the Falcons game on the main TV, the big TV. I keep the volume on that so I can listen to the broadcasters. And then on my iPad, I put on the Red Zone. And while I see things happening in the Red Zone that I want to click to, I'll then go to a game. You know, if a game looks really good or if a team has been driving for a while, I'll go to a game. Or if nothing big's going on, I'll just keep it on the Red Zone. So I like to do that, so I can focus on my Falcons, but also check what's going on, check my fantasy, all that stuff. So I saw the Browns were getting destroyed. And I said, you know what? Let me tune into this game real quick. And let me watch. And let me see what in the world is going on with Baker Mayfield and this team. So I turned it on. And I got really lucky. I got lucky because when I turned it on, it was perfect timing. You know why? Because Baker had the ball, the Browns had the ball, and something caught my eye right away. So I started watching. And I noticed that, and listen, I'm not a GM or anything like that. I'm not a scout. I just look and watch what I see, what I know, just based on breaking down games. I've done scouting classes. I have friends that play football. I never played myself, but I understand the ins and outs of the game. Again, I'm no scout, I'm no GM, but I've watched it, and I've watched it very in depth, and I've went through film and broken down film and all that stuff. So I noticed that Baker Mayfield doesn't know how to do a correct 3-step drop. Now, listen, for those that don't know what a 3-step drop is, a 3-step drop, you basically get a snap, you're behind the center, right? It's when you're not kneel down, but you're scrunched down behind the center, and you take the ball like that. You say hike, and then you take your steps. You take your 3 steps back. 1, 2, 3. You're kind of like backward shuffling, and then you plant your foot and get rid of the ball, rip the ball, right? You're supposed to do it like you could do it in your sleep if you're an NFL quarterback. These are things you learn as a little kid. It's fundamental. So you're supposed to be very comfortable with it. So you take the snap from your quarterback, you back shuffle 1, 2, 3, plant that foot, rip it, right? That might sound confusing, but quarterbacks have been doing this since they were 8 years old. I'm not even kidding, okay? They've been doing it since they were little kids. So you take your 3 steps back, you plant your foot, and you sling it. Baker was literally leaping back. So he wasn't walking back, he was leaping back to get distance from the line of scrimmage from his offensive line immediately. He was almost scared that he was about to get rushed in 2 seconds. And that might not be his fault. The offensive line has been awful in the past years. But he was pretty much wobbling back, skipping back. And look, he has now been in the league for 3 years. This is his 3rd year. And this is his 3rd coach. That's hard, okay? I don't care how good you are. If you have 3 coaches in 3 years, you are not going to be set up to be successful. It's going to be tough. When you have 3 different coaches telling you 3 different things, and I'm sure that's what's been happening. And it looks like he has forgot his basic fundamentals. And that is huge in the NFL. As a quarterback, your fundamentals, your footwork, they're everything. Everything. Your arm strength can be average. If you have good footwork, if you have good fundamentals, good awareness, you can be a starting quarterback in the NFL. He hasn't had any consistency on being taught how to be a professional quarterback. And so what's happening is he's thinking all the time. He's not trusting himself. That's why he's skipping back, because he's thinking about the defensive lineman that's about to come wreck him, because he's seen it happen to him too many times before. You know what you're supposed to do? Your practice, your grind, you practice, so that when you get into a game, you don't think about it. You just do it. And when I saw him taking that 3-step drop the way he did, it told me that Baker is clearly in his head. He's not doing his practice. He's not doing his fundamentals. He's thinking, and when you're thinking, you make mistakes because the game happens so fast. It happens so fast. There's too much going on. The defense is moving. There's big bodies flying at you. There's offensive linemen falling at your feet. And if you're thinking, you're not going to execute. I knew that the Cleveland Browns had no chance once I turned that game on to come back, because Baker Mayfield is not at that level yet. He's just not. And he is going to end up holding this extremely talented team back. Now, like I said, this is not all on him. He has gotten in an unfortunate position, and pretty much every quarterback that's gone to Cleveland in the recent years, not even recent years, in the last 15, 20 years, have been in a terrible situation. But this is by far the most talent that Cleveland's had in 2 decades. And yes, he doesn't deserve all the blame, but he deserves some of it. Because he was the number 1 overall pick. He's a Heisman Trophy winner. He took his team to the college football playoff. He has high expectations. But he's thinking. He's not acting. He's thinking. And it all starts with the fundamentals, which he doesn't have locked down yet. And that's a problem as a quarterback. And it sounds simple. And people want to hear other things like, oh, well, Odell's going to do this, and, Jarvis is going to do this, but it starts with your quarterback. And fundamentally, he is flawed right now. And I don't know how you can fix it, to be honest. I really don't. But then this is the question, and it's a fair question. What happened his rookie season? Why was he so much better his rookie season? And it's a great question. And that's because as a rookie, he was in shotgun almost every single time. Now, those that say, what's shotgun? Shotgun is when you're not lining up behind the center. Shotgun is when you're already 3 steps back and you say hike. You know what I'm saying? So they're hiking it to you and you're already back there. So you don't have to do your step back. Now, you're still going to step back a little bit, but you're not going to do the whole 3-step drop from after you get the ball from your center. So he didn't have to worry his rookie year about his drop back motion. He didn't have to worry about his fundamentals being so off because he wasn't doing the drop back. Because this is the thing. In college, he could use his athleticism to make plays. In the NFL, he is the least athletic player on the field. It's that simple. The NFL is too good. Everyone is too good. Everyone is too fast. Everyone is too physical. And now I know the next question. The next question that all of you should be thinking, all of you should be asking is, well then, why the heck aren't they putting them in shotgun from here on out, right? And this is why. Kevin Stefanski, their new coach, is the head coach because of the drop back play action pass. Kevin Stefanski came over from a team in the Vikings last year that doesn't have a very confident quarterback. He had success with that quarterback because of the run game. It was all about the run game. He doesn't want that He doesn't want to do the shotgun the whole time. He doesn't want that. He wants to turn around and hand the ball off to Nick Chubb and hand the ball off to Kareem Hunt, which are not bad options, by the way. Not bad options at all. Because in order to do it effectively in the NFL, like to do it till you have like a 16 or 1,800 yard season from a running back in Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt, you have to be under center. You have to be under center, and Baker just isn't comfortable under center. And if you're Kevin Stefanski and you want to run the ball down the hill and have the cutback lanes and run it down their throat and pulling guards and all this misdirection stuff, you got to be under center. You have to. And Baker Mayfield doesn't do that because he's not comfortable there. And the reason why you have to be under center if you want to do that in the run game, because then it sets up the play action pass. So you do the same action, right? You turn around, you hand the ball to Nick Chubb. You turn around, you hand the ball to Kareem Hunt. You keep doing it. So the defense thinks they're going to keep running it. And you do keep running it until finally you turn around and you fake the handoff on a play action pass and you hit your Odell Beckhams, you hit your Jarvis Landry, boom, deep. That's what Kevin Stefanski's trying to build. But he can't build that until the fundamentals, the simple fundamentals are there for Baker. Baker has to do this under center. He has to be under center for this system to work. And he's not comfortable there. And he's fundamentally flawed. And when you watch how he is, he leaps instead of taking steps back. When he's doing is he's thinking. And when you're thinking, you can't be successful in the National Football League. I mean, think about golf. The more you think while you're out there on the course, the worse you're off, right? When you're out there on the course and you're having fun, you're talking to your buddies, you're drinking beers, and you're not actually thinking about your next shot, that's when you play the best. I know that's for sure when I play the best, and I guarantee you that's when most of you play the best. But when you're out there and you just hit a shot into the woods, and then the whole time you're thinking, okay, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? And then now you finally drop another ball and you hit it into the woods again because that whole time you were thinking about what's going on. You're getting in your head. And the Browns are really good at running the ball too. They average over 5 yards a carry. That's really good in the NFL. And it's not like they're only running the ball 10 times a game. I mean, they're running the ball 30 times a game or more. At 5 yards a carry in the National Football League, that is really good. So you have the running game. The running game is there. You have the number 1 overall pick at quarterback. You have the number 2 overall rushing leader in Nick Chubb last year. He was second in yards last season, only behind that beast Derrick Henry. You easily have one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. You have another incredibly talented wideout in Jarvis Landry. And you have a very good tight end in Austin Hooper who can easily ball, because I saw that firsthand the last 4 years when he was in Atlanta, and he got better every statistical category possible each year with Matty Ice under center. You then go out and pay a crap ton of money for Jack Conklin to come protect your quarterback this offseason, which fortified that offensive line. So finally it's not awful like it's been these entire other 2 years. You have one of the best pass rushers in the league in Myles Garrett. I mean, come on. You should easily be putting 30-plus points a game. Easily. And they aren't. And they're not even getting close to that. And this is the thing. This is going to either get really good quick or really, really bad quick. Because that brings us into our Thursday night matchup this Thursday. Week 2. Week 2, and we already have the Battle of Ohio on our hands. A team in the Cincinnati Bengals who didn't play well on Sunday, but still should have won. Because Joe Burrow showed that he has moxie. Showed he is a legit QB. Joe Burrow showed something, no doubt, that he can play. And they have pros on their team. They have Joe Mixon. They have A.J. Green. They have Tyler Boyd. They have some players on defense. They have players. So you got the Bengals. If you lose that game, oh my goodness. If you lose that game to the other team in Ohio, the team with the rookie QB that has talent but nowhere near the talent that you have, if you lose that game, oh my goodness. And then you go and play Washington in week 3. And I know Washington is going to be better. I've been saying all summer, Ron Rivera was a great hire. He's going to bring a competitive edge to that team, and they're not going to be a joke anymore. But you still supposed to beat Dwayne Haskins at this point. If you start 0-3, and that first game you play the Ravens, that makes sense. You lose that, okay? But if you start 0-3 or 1-2, I mean, I don't know how you really recover from that this year, because they're so fragile, because they're not used to winning. They don't know how to win now. There's no culture there. It all just doesn't add up to me. For the amount of talent they have, I mean, what has happened to Odell since he has become a Brown? What has happened to him? Is he even out there anymore? And I get it. He was injured last year. He looks normal. He doesn't look like a special player anymore. 3 catches for 22 yards? How? This is one of the best receivers we've ever seen. It almost feels like no matter what they do or what they like to try and accomplish and get right, they can't get it right. And I don't want to blame it on like factors that aren't real, right? Because it ultimately comes down to, can you execute? It comes down to, can you execute? Can you catch balls? Can you run the football? Can you not throw interceptions? It comes down to the tangible things, the things that you can control. But it's hard not to look at the Browns and say there's something else. There's something else going on. They scored 6 points, guys, in the modern NFL. 6 points in the modern. I get the Ravens are good, but 6 points? And see, this thing, it's not like this team is the Jets. See, Sam Darnold, yeah, he's not been great this since he's been drafted. He hasn't, okay? That's fair. But he can't get an offensive line to save his life. He doesn't have barely any weapons. Baker has everything at his disposal. And the Browns just can't execute. But let me tell you, they better win that Thursday night game. They cannot lose the Battle of Ohio to Joe Burrow, a rookie QB who's very good, but a rookie QB, a team with way less talent. Baker has to come out and show that he's ready for this moment. And again, I'm not putting this all on Baker. It's hard for anyone to succeed with 3 coaches in 3 years. But Baker has completely lost his fundamentals. And when you don't have your fundamentals in the National Football League, you don't have anything. If Kevin Stefanski is a coach, which I think he's a good coach, he needs to go back to the drawing board, go back to step 1, and get those fundamentals back. Otherwise, his offense is not working with Baker Mayfield under center. It's that simple. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I'm your host, Kayvon Izami. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk some pitchforks out about Tom Brady already, and then patience or panic. Is your team involved? Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
Welcome back. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I am your host, Kayvon Izami. Hope everyone's having a lovely week. Happy Tuesday, happy Wednesday, Thursday, whenever you're listening to the show. Can't believe we're heading into week 2 now. It's so exciting. You know, that's the great thing. That's the crazy thing about football. It's only 15 weeks, which, you know, for a regular season. And next season, can't wait. That's going to actually be 16 weeks. Each team's going to have a 17-week schedule with a bye. So I can't wait for that. But you know how, like, it takes forever for week 1 to come. Week 1's finally here. Then next thing you know, we're in, like, week 4, week 5, week 6, and you can't start off bad. You just can't. Look, you can lose 1 game, you can lose 2 games, but that's one thing people have hit. Every year a team starts 0-2 and then hits a stride and makes the playoffs. So that happens. But I know as fan bases, we'd much rather our teams to start strong, right? So we're going to look at the teams that did start bad this week 1. And it's Overreaction Tuesday. It's Overreaction week 1. It happens all the time. We can go to the ringing phone in the lobby and answer it because we got a lot of fans that are panicking. I get it. You know, I'm panicking too. Especially, you know, when you're 0-1 playing an 0-1 team. So it's like in week 2, you know. So like the Bucs and the Panthers, they're playing each other. They're both 0-1. So one team, unless a tie happens, is coming out of there 0-2. And that's rough, you know. The Falcons are playing the Cowboys. Both teams are 0-1. One team's coming out of there 0-2, and the Falcons got to go to Dallas. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if there's fans in the stadium in any of these games, if anything changes, or if we keep rolling like this for a good bit. But overall, my favorite thing was it was good football all around. It really was. You know, sloppy play here and there, but overall, football was good. The football was really good, and you got to credit the players for staying in shape. You got to credit the players for, you know, staying disciplined and not getting COVID or going out to places where they're in you know, susceptible to COVID and stuff like that. And the coaches and the administrative and staff and all them executives, the league, you got to credit them all. The workers that do the stuff behind the scenes stuff that we just don't talk about, that's important. That's important big time. And you know, if they went out and didn't stay disciplined, they could have came back and given it to a player or someone that we do really talk about. So everyone deserves credit. But now comes the hard part. You know, getting to week 1, I always said from the start, we are going to have week 1 of football. What's going to happen from there? Is there going to be an outbreak from these teams flying cross country? Is there going to be an outbreak from these teams, you know, tackling each other and playing all up on each other and stuff like that? What's going to happen from there? During the next week, are things going to change? And the biggest key is this. When teams start to fall out of contention, that's what the league is worried about. I can tell you that. That is what the league is worried about. When teams start to fall out of contention, do some of the young players, not the veterans are smart, but just some of the young players start to get loose with their discipline, start to think, hey, you know, we're out of this, we're not playing for much, you know, let's go out to a bar or something like that. You know, you would think no, because if they don't play, then they're going to lose their paychecks, you know, so hopefully they understand that, but they're young, so that's something that the league, I'm sure, is very worried and interested to see what happens. Now, moving forward, we'll see as this goes. But as of right now, a lot of credit to everyone involved. There's no doubt about that. I want to move into this before we go into Panic or Patience, you know, segment where we're going to name some of the teams that had tough week 1s and see where do you go from here? Are you going to panic or are you going to hit the patient button on them? And I'll go through that, so stay tuned and see if your team comes involved. But first, I want to tackle this subject right here. Here we go, right? Here we go. Tom Brady. It seemed like the whole world wanted him to have a bad week 1, didn't they? And he did. And now the pitchforks are out. You know, let me give you this real quick. You know how when you grow up in your parents' home and you're living in your parents' home, you're going to, you know, middle school and high school and you live with them. So you're living under their rules. You know, they make the rules because you're under their house, and rightfully so, right? Well, they keep you disciplined by giving those rules, we get mad at them because they don't let us go out late, or they give us a curfew, or we have to clean our room and stuff like that. And it's in the moment of time, we're like, are you kidding me? But as we get older, we start to realize, they're doing it for the best of us. They're keeping us disciplined. They're giving us rules to follow, and rightfully so. So you go through that and you realize that. And you don't realize that at the moment, or sometimes you do, just depending on where you are at a young age. But you follow their rules because you're under their house. And they create the discipline. If you screw up, they're here to punish you, whether that's taking your electronics away, whatever. So when it's then time to go to college and live on your own, or you get a job and you live on your own, you move out, right? Well, you're living on your own, so you then have your own responsibilities. So you then have to deal with your own discipline. You have to deal with what you do. You have to make those decisions. You have to make those decisions of, do you want to go, you want to go out, right? You want to go have drinks with your friends. Well, yeah, do that, but make sure you do that in moderation, where you can still cough up that monthly rent when it comes, where you can still pay for your electric and groceries when it comes. Those are important things as you go, right? Well, once you start to get on your own, you start to realize that you don't really have your parents' discipline to back you up. You don't have your parents there to say, hey, like, you did that wrong, but don't worry, like, we're here for you. Like, that changes. You start to realize that. That is what's happening with Tom Brady, okay? That's what's going to happen. He was just with the most disciplined organization for 20 years. He was just with the best head coach ever for 20 years. He was with a team where he can have an off night, but they can still win based on his coach picking him up, based on his coach making sure the rest of the team is disciplined. See, the Patriots will never lose by beating themselves. They will never punish themselves. They will never have 12, 15 flags in a game. They're not going to lose because they weren't disciplined. Now, they might lose because Brady has an off game. They might lose because the team just doesn't play well, but they're not going to shoot themselves in their own foot. They're not going to allow that to happen, right? They're going to play their game. They're going to make sure that they are disciplined, and that they are disciplined no matter what. And they can live with the results from there. Brady now is going to a team where they aren't disciplined, where Bruce Arians isn't a coach that is going to make sure that his team... The Buccaneers led the league in penalties last year. All right, Bruce Arians is not Bill Belichick. He's not going to crack down the whip. He's not going to make sure that none of his players screw up. That's just not the coach that he is. He's a great coach. But it's different. It's different. Tom Brady has to get used to this. Okay? He goes into an offseason where they can barely practice, where he has to hide from the helicopters and all that by playing on high school fields with teammates just to get some reps in, because he's not supposed to be doing that because of COVID, and rightfully so. He all of week leading into week one, his number one wide receiver and Mike Evans didn't practice because he's hurt. Leonard Fournette, who's going to end up being their best running back. I know Ronald Jones was their number one, but Leonard Fournette will be. He just got there. He's still trying to learn the offense. Okay? And then they played a team in New Orleans that has been together for 15 years. New Orleans has a coach in Sean Payton and a QB in Drew Brees that has been together for 14 straight years. Brady and Bruce Arians have been together for 4 months. Okay? We didn't expect the Bucs to just come in and dominate that game. We shouldn't have expect Brady to just come in and dominate that game. Now, did he have some good throws? Of course. Did he have some bad throws? Yes, for sure. Did he play overall a bad game? Yes, he did. But we have to relax. Yes, he's Tom Brady, but we have to realize, guys, he was just with an organization for 20 years that is completely different from the organization that he's with now. And yeah, he chose that. That's on him. He chose that. And I said a couple weeks ago before the season starts that the pressure is on him, and he has to live up to it. But let's criticize him after the season's over if he doesn't even make the playoffs. Or if they make the playoffs and then lose a game, okay? Then we can criticize him. It's week 1 against a team that has been together for 14 years in New Orleans. Come on. Mike Evans hurt all week. Clearly you could tell their rapport was terrible. It takes time. Football is a team game, okay? That's one thing. Give it time. And trust me, they're going to bounce back next week and they're going to beat the Panthers. You have my word on that. You have my word on that. Now, let me move on to this. Bruce Arians needs to be careful here. Bruce Arians needs to be careful here. Let me play you this soundbite of Bruce Arians after the game. The game on Sunday against the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like Tom Brady in practice all the time, so it's kind of unusual to see that in the ball game because they didn't do the things that we didn't get ready for. Everything they did, we thought we were ready for. He knew he didn't play very well, and it's not what he expects from himself, nor do we expect. So I would anticipate him to have a little more grit, a little more determination this week.
What? Did Bruce Arians just say I would expect for him to have a little bit more grit and determination this week? Let me just get this straight. Yes, did Tom Brady not play well? Of course he didn't. And is it okay? I'm not standing up here saying he shouldn't criticize Tom Brady. Should he criticize Tom Brady? Of course he should. Tom Brady is a big boy. He can take some criticism. He's taking criticism from Belichick. He's taking criticism from Josh McDaniels. He can take criticism. You can sit up there and say he misread a read on Mike Evans, which he ended up actually coming back and taking that back and say that was Evans' fault, not Brady. But you can sit up there and say, he played bad. Brady will take that all day. But Bruce Arians, to say that he will hopefully have some more grit and determination. Do you not understand that we're talking about Tom Brady, who is obsessed with winning, who I think is probably the most competitive athlete ever outside of Michael Jordan? Like, Bruce Arians, you're not Bill Belichick. You don't have 6 rings. You're not the greatest coach of all time. Look, I like you, Bruce Arians. I do. I think you're a good coach. Players rave about you. Players want to play with you all the time. And you are a good coach, and you've done some good things in this league. But didn't Brady just leave Belichick because he was getting tired of getting treated this way? Again, criticize Brady for the mistakes all you want. Brady is a big boy. He can take that, and he will take that. But when you start criticizing him for his effort and his grit, that's going to be a problem. Because that's simply not true. That is the last thing you can say about Tom Brady. Did he play bad? Yeah, he played bad. Did he have some bad reads? Yeah. Did he not show a lot of athleticism? Yeah. There's some issues with Brady. He's definitely not the most athletic quarterback. He definitely doesn't have the zip and the fire that he had back when he was 10 years younger. But to say he doesn't have the passion, the grit, the determination, Brady is not going to like that. This is week 1, Bruce Arians. Week 1. What are you doing calling out Brady about his grit? His grit is perfectly fine. That's just, I don't see how Brady can like that at all. It's just not true. It's not true. It's not a good look. It's not a good look whatsoever. And Brady will use this as fire to bounce back. But come on, Bruce Arians, you got to be better. You got to be better. All right. I don't know if you think that you need to do these kind of things because you now have Brady and you need to kind of do like a Bill Belichick type thing. Nah. All right. Talk to Brady in the locker room. If you don't like what you're seeing out there, talk to Brady in the locker room. What's the point of airing it out like that, huh? to show that you're in charge? Does that matter? Brady's there to win football games. Got to get it together. You got to be careful there if you're Bruce Arians. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I'm your host, Kayvon Izami. All right, got 5 minutes left in the show. It's time to do a little bit of panic or patience. So let's start it off. Look, let's start off with the team that we talked about earlier, the Cleveland Browns. I'm panicking. I'm sorry. They look terrible. This is the second year in a row that they've come out and lost by 32 points. You don't come out and lose to a divisional opponent by 32 points. They did it last year when they played the Titans, and everyone thought they were going to be this great team. The Titans came out and hit them right in the mouth. This year, the expectations were not as high, but the talent was even better. And they came out and laid an egg. It was a terrible performance by Baker Mayfield. It was a terrible performance by the coaching staff, by the defense. And don't get me wrong, Baltimore's a good team. I'm not asking for you guys to beat Baltimore in Baltimore. But to put up 6 points in the modern NFL when your head coach is an offensive coach, he got the job because he's an offensive-minded coach and he did a good job with Kirk Cousins. Come on. There is panic in Cleveland. And I'll tell you what, if you lose to that city of Cincinnati and you lose that Battle of Ohio on Thursday night, there is going to be issues. Big-time issues. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. We're doing a little game of panic and patience. The next one, Minnesota Viking. Look, I have patience here, all right? But I was wrong. I think I might have been wrong about them winning the division. I'm not going to say I'm fully wrong about it, but I thought Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, with drafting Jordan Love, I thought that there was going to be this dynamic where Rodgers would, he would do his thing, but he wouldn't go all out. He would be salty. Rodgers is putting this on his sleeve, and he's going to show it every bit of the way. And he just showed that to us week 1. Rodgers is ready to go. And I think he's ready to do it in a spiteful way. And I can't wait to watch it. So I will be fine if I lost. I will be fine if I was wrong about this. But they came out and they put a whooping on a Minnesota team that prides themselves on defense, that just traded for Yannick Ngakoue, that's been trying to get better on defense all offseason. And they just got whooped like they shouldn't have even been in the same arena with the Packers. Wow. Patience, because they have a lot of good pieces on that Minnesota team. So no need to panic yet, but that was a bad week 1 performance. Philadelphia Eagles. Look, patience, but I'll tell you what, I'm also panicking a little bit because of this. Patience because they have Carson Wentz, they have a good team, and they just blew a lead to a really good football team that has let me take that back. Washington's not a really good football team, but a football team that has a really good defensive line. I mean, probably the best defensive line in the league. And to a coach that, had to get an IV shot at halftime. His players clearly rallied around him when they saw that. I mean, this is a good story for Washington. It's a divisional game. It's week 1. These things happen. The part where I'm panicking a little bit is the injuries. Philadelphia is only going into week 2, and they have already lost 2 or 3 offensive linemen already, a couple of wide receivers, a couple of defensive players on the D-line. They are in a mess. Their defensive end, Graham, I forgot his first name, he has a concussion. Like, they are a mess with injuries 1 week in, and that's where I worry. But when it comes to the play overall, good coaching staff, good quarterback, they just got to get healthy. The division won't be that strong, so patience there. All right. Next one, the Atlanta Falcons. Look, there's patience here, but not a lot. Dan Quinn is on a very short leash. He got the job. He kept one. He got to come back this year because his players played hard for him, and they went 6-2 down the stretch. But you cannot show up week 1 like that and allow 38 points. Now, granted, like I said, Seattle did something that we've never seen him do. They let Russell Wilson cook from play 1. And so Atlanta was just at the wrong place at the wrong time to receive that. That was the best game I've ever seen Russell Wilson play. I'm not kidding. So it's a mix of both, but now they go to Dallas, which is a team that they have not played well throughout their years. Dallas has always been a tough franchise for them. I don't know why. If they go 0-2, that things are going to start to the rumors are going to heat up. And the bye week talk of Dan Quinn getting let go is going to heat up. So the players need to rally. They need to go to Dallas and win. I'm not panicking yet, but if they go 0-2, that panic button might start to get hit. The next one, New York Jets. Panic. I didn't see one thing that I liked about the Jets. Sam Darnold is under pressure he's under duress every single time he touches the ball. The offensive line, they might as well just put no one there. I mean, seriously. I think he would have a quicker time to release the ball if they just put nobody there. I mean, they don't block. The offensive line is terrible. The receivers are not good. Le'Veon Bell got hurt again. Adam Gase is just all over the place. I don't know what he's doing as a coach. I feel bad for Sam Darnold. Look, he might not be the quarterback I thought he was coming out of the draft, but he hasn't even got a shot. Put Sam Darnold on the Cleveland Browns and see what happens with that talent. Seriously. He has no talent. This is absurd. I feel bad for Sam Darnold. I'm panicking in New York. I'm panicking for the Jets. The Houston Texans, panic or patience? Patience. Look, did they look terrible in offense? Yes. Was it a bad look after they looked awful and then DeAndre Hopkins went out and had the game of his life, 14 catches, 150 yards or something like that? Yeah, it looks terrible. And Bill O'Brien should get a lot of heat for it. But they still have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in Deshaun Watson. You can't panic when you have that guy there. All right? They have a lot of leadership on the team. Takes a while to get the pieces going. No panic yet in Houston town. But they have a very tough schedule, so that's something to be aware of. This is the GSMC Football Podcast. I want to thank you, everyone, for listening. You guys are awesome. Reach out. Let me know who you are panicking or having patience on. Let me know your game balls of the week, your Waterboy Awards of the week. Reach out to me for the next Tuesday show, as I will be reading out y'all's tweets for those awards. Can't wait. We'll make it a segment. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us. Also, if you can, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you all. Have a great night. Enjoy your Thursday night football. Talk to you over the weekend.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.